Welcome back to another episode of the For All Stages and Ages podcast, where we provide support and guidance to parents navigating the many stages of their kids' lives. Today we've got a brilliant guest, Kim Guche, founder of Entrancing Inspirations, which is a holistic wellness practice that focuses on hypnotherapy, NLP coaching and success coaching, and also energy healing, which is really interesting. Kim is bringing over 2 decades of experience as a paediatric speech and language pathologist, helping children with communication challenges and empowering their families to find balance and peace as well. She's got the ability to help parents of children with special needs connect with their inner strengths and resilience, and her signature 5-minute chaos to calm method offers practical tools for managing stress and creating a harmonious home environment, which as a parent myself of a child that's got autism, I'm going to find very interesting, and Kim has very kindly offered to show us one of the meditations at the end of the podcast as well. She's a single mum of 4 and she understands the importance of recharging and staying resilient, and she's here today to share her journey with us. So lovely having you on, Kim. Thank you so much. How are you?
Hi, Lucy. Thanks for having me on. I'm so excited about this. It's great to be here.
It's lovely having you on. I'm really excited to talk to you. There's so much to kind of unpack with everything that you've got. So do you want to start by kind of telling us a little bit about where you sort of decided to start with your business, your background as a paediatric SLP? How did that kind of shape your approach into coming into this business and what you're actually doing now?
Sure. I was working in home care with pediatrics as a speech language pathologist. And I would say at that time, most of the families that I was working with had 1 or more children with autism. So really demanding. I had a high caseload and a lot of really challenging families. And at the same time, I have my own 4 children, and I was going through a divorce. So I had a lot going on in my life. I had some per diem kids that I was working with as well. And I remember at that time, it hit me that I said out loud, I didn't know anything really about hypnosis at the time, but I had said, wouldn't it be great if there was a way that you could program this information into the brain somehow, so that every time I come back, I don't have to start over? Because I would see kids, 1 time a week, go back the next week, and it's like they had forgotten everything, that we had to start all over from the beginning. So I said, if there was just a way that I could make them remember from week to week what we're working on, so I don't have to start over again. And then shortly after that, there were changes made in the pay structure with the company that I was working. So I left that because I was going through a divorce and I needed a bigger salary. So I was doing a travel speech job, and I ended up at a long-term care facility. And right after this, maybe within a few weeks, I ended up working with a girl whose husband was the hypnotist in the town where I live. He had the most successful hypnosis practice. And it was just so fortuitous that I ended up there. And I wanted to go see him for a session for myself. But this whole time, now I'm going through a divorce. My dad had just died. My mom was sick. And I have these 4 kids. And I'm struggling to pay all the bills and the mortgage. But I was not happy with my job, because I kept thinking, I'm not helping people enough. I need to do something. And I just kind of felt lost, where am I going? What am I doing? And I walked into his office and I saw on the wall a sign that said, it was a comparative of hypnosis, cognitive behavioral therapy, and then traditional talk therapy, and how many sessions it would take for a person to achieve a desired result. And I don't remember the exact number, but I know that with hypnotherapy, it was you could get your results in, just a few sessions, compared to other kinds of therapy where you're going, weeks, months, sometimes years. And I said, this is what I could do to help people. I mean, I actually got teary-eyed when I saw it. And I just looked at him and I said, you mean I could do this? And he said, yeah, anybody can do it. And I said, well, then this is what I want. I want to sign up. And I never even did my session. He just told me what I could do to sign up to get my certification. And I started that next week. And I was funny because I went home and I told the kids, and they were, my one son, he was like, oh, no, no. You get a lot of crazy ideas that we allow you flexibility to go with. But this one, no. And he said, you march right back in there and you tell him you want your money back. And they thought I was joking. I think they thought it was going to be like, I don't know, like I was going to be a magician or something. And I said, why? This is a great way to help people. And it turned out that now all of my kids use hypnosis in one form or another in their lives. But it turned out to be a great thing for all of us. But what really happened was I had, when you're inside of it, you don't recognize your own tornado. You really don't know how much you're struggling sometimes. But
Yeah.
I could see it reflected in the children I was working with, because kids with special needs, particularly kids with autism, are so sensitive to other people's energy. And I could see clearly if I came in, even if I was the happiest version of let's play, and I was so excited, and on the outside, I appeared happy. They're not fooled by that. Your own kids and the kids that you work with are not fooled by that. And they can tell what's going on with you internally. So when I was off, they would be off. And then I realized once I started using hypnosis for myself and I got calmer internally and more grounded, it made a huge difference with them, with my own kids. And then even I was working with adults at the time, but it was just, you could clearly see it reflected back in how much more effective I was as a clinician and how much calmer my patients or my clients were. So I kept thinking, the universe just kept showing me repeatedly, there's really something to this. It's not hokey. And then I knew that this is what I need to do. And I thought, how am I going to start a business where I am with everything going on in my life? But my heart was not going to let me not do it. It was like a magnet. I was so pulled to it. And even though I was scared, I had everyone in my world telling me this, you're never going to do this. This isn't going to work. That's crazy. All the reasons why not to. But my biggest fear was not any of that. It was my confidence to start a business, because I knew nothing about it, just, doing it myself. And then I thought, well, how can I not? I know that this is going to be good for people and this can help people. And I just prayed, and then I meditated, and I just kind of let that guide me. The more I learned, the more clients I worked with, the more magical I realized it is. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. So I'll just go a little at a time and it will become what it's going to become.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into it. And then the more I knew of it, the more I loved it, even though it was hard building a business and working a job and having 4 kids and a parent who was sick. I couldn't not do it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I wanted to say I'm sorry to hear about your dad passing away. Unfortunately, I know how you feel. My mum passed away 2 years ago from COVID. So I do know how you feel about that. I'm so very sorry about that for your dad passing away. With regards to the hypnotherapy side, why do you think that it works specifically well? I think you did touch on it slightly with children with autism and special needs. Why do you think hypnotherapy works so well specifically for those type of children with SEN needs?
Well, first of all, a couple things. I think all children are very responsive to energy, and children easily get into an imaginative world or another world. I mean, kids are often like closer to, in their imagination or their daydream or whatever that thing is that fascinates them. So it's just so easy to work with kids in that way, because when they become fixed, I mean, really, that's all it is. Like a hypnotic state is just a hyper focused state on anything. You know how you can even be so focused on a book. You're so entranced in your book or a movie that you're watching that you feel like you're part of it. Like your emotions are responding to what you're reading or what you're watching. Most people would probably not think they're in a hypnotic state when they're reading or watching a movie, but that's really what it is. You have all your focus on one thing to the exclusion of other things. So no matter what a child is interested in, if you get into that world with them, and they're already there, they're already in a hypnotic state. So any suggestion that you want to give them from that about their own gifts, their own talents, their own strengths, the things that they maybe don't ever think they can do. But when you start reminding them of that while they're in this state where their unconscious mind is kind of taking over, they're open to suggestions. They start to believe new things about themselves easily. And also, when the people around them are doing self-hypnosis or self-care in that way of staying more grounded and centered, they're like, that's like their rock, like when the mom is centered and calm, then the child feels more centered and calm because they're really just responding to your energy. And like I said, even if you're trying to show a good face on the outside, they know exactly, they feel what's going on with you on the inside, and they can tell that it doesn't match. And I think what I have noticed with a lot of my kids that I work with, I've noticed it more that I've gotten into observing them in a different way. They become dysregulated because I think they realize it's incongruent. So your face is showing them one thing, but they feel your inside doesn't match.
Yeah.
So that throws them off.
Yeah. I've always tried. I don't like the term gentle parenting. I don't like the terminology of it because I think it's a very widely misconceived parenting method. I think a lot of people think that gentle parenting is like permissive parenting, where you just let your child do whatever they want to do and that's it, and you don't sort of, not punish them, but you just kind of let them walk all over you. Whereas gentle parenting isn't that at all. It's about having respect and having boundaries with your child. And I've noticed myself that when my little boy, who is 4.5 years old, when he's doing something that I don't want him to do, if I am struggling to kind of control my triggers and my emotions, and I'm getting to that point where it's, I'm not talking to him anymore, it's bordering on, telling him or shouting at him, and I'm getting up here rather than here. He follows me, his tone and his level, he completely follows me. So if I'm sort of shouting, he's shouting. And I've learned myself now that in order to be able to get anywhere with him, I have to stay calm with him, and I have to stay on a level. I have to talk very calmly with him, because I know that if I go up here, he goes up there as well, and we just end up in this battle with each other of shouting at each other, and that just doesn't get anyone anywhere. So I completely get what you're saying about the energies, because they do completely match us with their energies, children, and is something to kind of bear in mind that, parents, you need to kind of keep a check on what you're doing as well, rather than just what your children are doing. So can you tell us a little bit more about your 5-minute chaos to calm method? And I know, like, the second part of my question for that one is, how can parents who are, I suppose, already probably thinking that they've not got any time left in their day to, sit and have a cup of coffee or have a piece of toast, are there any sort of methods that they can kind of get for themselves to find that 5 minutes to be able to do this 5-minute chaos to calm method that you're going to show us afterwards?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I do want to say, as you were talking about your son, after I finished my training and I was kind of starting to practice, my youngest child, who is now 21, and she was great for me to work with. I think she was 8 at the time, but just so easy to do hypnosis with. And as I had gone through, all of my different trainings, she was kind of always excited about what I was learning. But one day I was taking her to school and I noticed, and I was singing. I thought I was in a great mood, and we had one of the songs on we liked on the radio, and I'm driving, and I noticed that she's moving closer and closer away from me towards the door. And I looked at her and I said, "What are you doing?" And she didn't even realize she was doing it at first. And she said, "What?" And I said, "Why do you keep moving away from me? Now you're like all the way pressed up against the door." And she said, "Well, that's because whatever's going on with you, I can feel it. And it's like it's going right into my heart." And I said, "What?" I thought she was joking at first. And she said, I don't know what's going on with you today, Mom, but I don't like it. And I thought, like, why? Because we're singing. Aren't we having fun? She said, well, you're singing on the outside, but inside you're not. And that like really shocked me because I was, how does she know?
Yeah.
What can I do? I have to work on this then. So when I was working on the 5-minute thing, exactly what you said, people already are so pressed for time, especially when you have more than one child or you have a child with high needs. And, you already feel like as soon as you wake up, your feet hit the floor, you're already running. So the beauty of it is that you can do it quickly. You can do it anywhere you are. The more you do it, the easier and quicker it gets.
Okay.
But it's really just about getting grounded and releasing negative emotions inside of being grounded. When a parent gets triggered, like a child gets reactive, your emotional state, you get sucked into that emotional state. But in a split second, your unconscious mind is going back to not that moment, but all the things that have happened before in your life. And so all these stories start firing off and you're not even aware of them. All the stories of you're a terrible mom because this, or if you were a better mom, he or she wouldn't do that. It's just all this stuff that we have, that our own guilt or our own self-doubts, which are all stories. But when you get caught in an emotional entanglement with your child, all that was playing in the background.
Yeah.
So I like the 5-minute method to release it all, because in a second, you can just detach from all of that and let it go. And then you can get back to remembering that children, especially ones with autism or special needs, are also sensitive to the environment with the things they see, the things they smell, the things they hear, and the things they feel. And there's so many environmental things that could set them off. So it's also a good thing for the parent to remember it has nothing to do with me. Maybe the lights are too bright, or there's a sound that he hears that I can't hear. And I have to help him. And I can't help him if I'm in my own tornado.
Yeah.
So it really helps the mom to stay in control, not just moms. I work mostly with moms, but I've had a lot of dads call me too, single dads or just dads that want to do better because they don't know how to deal with autism or whatever their child's diagnosis is. But really, it just helps you be the pillar, that center for your child, so that they can be calmer.
Yeah, I think what you were saying then about the kind of emotional side of it, that we feel guilt of being parents, is an overwhelming kind of feeling. And I don't think we pay enough attention to it sometimes, of how much damage it can do. And I think it was on Instagram yesterday, and it was various images of a woman, and she'd gone to the park with her little boy. And there was like a text on screen, and it said, we went to the park today and we were out all day, and I felt really happy for that. But then at the bottom it said, but I felt guilty because I hadn't been able to cook him a home cooked meal because we've been out all day. And then the next slide was, we stayed in today, we played games, and I felt really guilty because we haven't been outside in the fresh air. And then at the bottom it was like, I've managed to cook him a home-cooked dinner today, but I feel guilty because we haven't been outside. I think it went on for about 10 different slides of she'd done all of these different things, and it started off with what she felt really grateful for, but she felt guilty because she hadn't done something else. So in the next slide, she corrects that, but then she feels guilty for something else. And I thought it was a fantastic way of kind of describing it, because we do feel guilty no matter what we do, sometimes with our children. Unfortunately, that takes a toll on us as parents, especially if we're not doing what you're suggesting and addressing it and taking care of ourselves, and sort of prioritizing our self-care as well. So hypnotherapy and NLP are obviously really powerful tools that can be used. How can they help parents to manage their stresses, their traumas, or to maybe help them set or achieve some goals? How can those particular tools help them do that?
So one thing, to go back to what you said, I love that example of the mom, because you can drive yourself crazy with guilt
Yeah.
about what you do or about what you don't do. And hypnotherapy can really help people to let go and detach from, and then really release those old stories and those negative emotions. We're human, so we're going to feel emotion, but it's the inappropriate, excessive negative emotion. And most of the stories that we tell, like that mom, I could totally feel the same guilt. When you were telling that, I could feel it because I would do the same thing when I
Yeah.
was a mom. Most people actually are products of how we've been raised. So if you were raised by somebody that didn't feel good about who she was as a mom and then put that on you, which is what happened to me, no matter what I did with my kids, my mom always told me I was a terrible mom. And how do you not believe that when your own mother's telling you that, right? So it's hard to overcome that. That's why I think hypnosis is great, because it takes you outside. That's all stories. That's just a story that somebody else is programming onto you. That's not the
Okay.
truth. And so when you do hypnosis or any kind of work in the unconscious mind, you can be objective. You can get outside of yourself. You have an objective view of reality, and you can see your own strengths. You can't really appreciate, see, or hear your own strengths inside your own head, because your filter's so small and it's so impacted by the self-talk and all the stories you have going on in there. So until you change that, hypnosis can help you change that, to clear that all out and put new beliefs in your unconscious mind, like taking out the trash or like cleaning out your house and then making it the way you want it. It just takes you into quiet. There's so much noise with social media. There's so much noise with all the negativity that happens in the world. You really need like those couple minutes to be quiet and just sit and go inward. That's hard for a lot of people to do. Clients always tell me, I would love to meditate. I can't stop my brain. And people think it's hard. That's what I like about the 5-minute technique that I do. It's easy. It's not like people think of meditation. I have to sit and be still and quiet my mind. And then they're thinking about 100 things. This makes it easy.
Yeah. Hypnotherapy, is there anyone that it wouldn't work for, in terms of, you hear it on films and things like that you have to be suggestible to hypnotherapy for it to be able to work? Or does it work on everyone as long as they're open to it working on them?
That's a great question. I mean, going into that hypnotic or trance state or inner focus is consensual state. You have to consent to do it, and you have to want to do it. So it won't work on anyone that shows up with an attitude like hypnotize me, like defensive,
Yeah.
or I can't be hypnotized, or I'm here because so and so wants me to be. Like you have to want to do it. If you had like a mental health diagnosis, it might be contraindicated with schizophrenia. But anyone can practice self-hypnosis. Anyone can get themselves into a quiet state, give themselves suggestions for what they want as an outcome. But working with someone as a client, anyone that wants to, has something that they want to achieve and is open to learning how to think different in a more empowered way, learning how to use their brain in a different way to achieve a result. It can work for anyone who wants it.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you. With regards to when you set up your business, so this is kind of going back to when you first sort of started, and is there any advice, because you were a single mum with 4 children, what insights or advice can you offer to parents or mums in specific out there that are feeling overwhelmed, but have these visions or dreams that they want to do what you've done and start their own business and get out of the corporate kind of rat race? Maybe, is there anything that you picked up along the way that you can maybe offer in terms of something that you learned, or some do's and don'ts that you did?
There's several things about that. I do have a lot of families that I work with where not just kids with autism, but I have a lot of families with children with medical needs. So the bills are high as far as doctor bills, hospital bills, medical equipment that these kids need. And the families need money, and moms maybe want to start a business. It's hard to work, and maybe they can't work because their child needs them at home. So starting a
Yeah.
business would be great, but maybe not knowing how or feeling overwhelmed. So I would say know what you want first, like if have an idea of what you want and why it's important to you. So I feel like anyone can grow a business or make something happen if it's important to them, if their heart is in it and they're connected to it. I feel like it has to be something that you feel strongly about or you have a strong reason why. I think you can also do anything you want. You can achieve anything as long as it's humanly possible. If you can see it, hear it, and feel it. So other people telling you it's not going to work, again, that's just junk and that's just a story. So throw that aside. And if you want it and you focus on it and you just want to move forward, put your sights on the thing that you want and believe and know that anything is possible. I've achieved things despite multiple negative situations, things that never should have happened. I made it happen because I was focused on that thing. But you need to remember that's fear. And one other thing I would want to say about that is going back to guilt. I hear from a lot of my friends and the families that I work with, the guilt, like if I start this business, it's going to take my time and attention away from this child, and this child needs me.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of things about that as far as energy goes. I think it's important that as a mom, you have your own identity, not just a mom. I'm not diminishing being a mom or loving your children. Now, my kids are the best thing that ever happened to me. And I was full in with each and every one of them. But I also knew that I needed to maintain my own identity, and me being constantly around all of them wouldn't have necessarily been the best thing. I needed something else. Even if you just look to what just happened with these hurricanes, right? Life changes in a second, on a dime, and marriages end. I'm not saying this to be negative, but family situations end. And sometimes the family splits and then parents don't have their kids anymore. Or you get to be an empty nest mom. And then who are you? So you've given 150% of yourself to this child or these children, and then they move on and then you feel lost. So I think and you can strangle a child energetically too by focusing too much on them, especially if you have fear and worry. If you can find something for yourself that fills you up and brings you joy and makes you happy, that also energetically gives breathing room. Then your child responds to that because you're happy.
Yeah.
So the happier you are, it's a ripple effect. It's just like the happier each person can be individually, where it's not selfish if you focus on you. Because when you're truly happy, my grandma used to say, when you're too good, you're no good. If you give away everything you have to everybody else, then what happens? You're going to get depleted at some point. But you need to keep recharging and refilling you, because the happier you are, that ripples out to not just your kids, but the cashier at the grocery store, the people in traffic. So it's not selfish to focus on you. I think that the answers are always in your heart. The answer is never in your head. If you have a business idea, imagining yourself doing that thing, notice how you feel in your body and your heart, and then imagine something else. Imagine yourself not doing it and notice how you feel. Your body's going to tell you what's the right answer.
Yeah.
The answers are always in your heart and always in the quiet. You can't find the answer in noise.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I know you're going to walk us through a quick little meditation to show us how to do it. One of the things that I wanted to ask, I used to meditate when I was younger. And it really, really helped me. I actually stopped doing it, which I wish I hadn't done. But for those who may be a little bit like me, I suffer with chronic anxiety, and I do struggle shutting off the voices in my head. Like I have this constant inner monologue, things in my head of what I need to do or stuff that I've done wrong, and guilt, and we've got to do this, we've got to do that. It's like a tap in my head and it never goes off. Before we start this meditation, is there any advice to people like me that struggle? They're not going to be able to shut it off and focus enough to be able to start a meditation.
I love that you said that. I hear that from everybody. So everyone has that inner voice. I don't know anyone who doesn't. Anyone can stop that. What I like about this technique, which uses hakalau. Hakalau is a Hawaiian practice, and it's about expanding your mind. So it's not difficult, and it's all about just picking a point of focus. Once you once you just focus your eyes on the visual, the rest will follow. So you can kind of just let go because it's really not about that. It's easy to focus on the negative voice in your head, right? So you can hyper focus. You can put your focus on anything that you want to. So choosing to focus your visual attention on something, I would say just make it all about point of focus using your vision, and then you can let the rest go.
Okay.
I will guide you through this. But what I do with my clients is this is all inside of other things that I do with them. So when they do their sessions with me, we are doing other techniques that are letting go of like old stories or releasing trauma, but also creating confidence and building, actually remembering who you really are as a person. So it's easy to focus on the things you can't do, the things you're not doing, the things you don't have. And people forget about all the things they can do and all the things they are doing and all the things they do have. So it's really just about bringing your focus back on what is and what's possible. Like that girl on Instagram, seeing the things that you're grateful for that you did great and let the rest go. Yeah. So point of focus. Anybody can put their eyes on a spot.
Lovely. So as we mentioned then, Kim is going to walk us through a quick little meditation session to show you kind of a little bit of a taster of what happens in a meditation session if you've not had one, and what to do, and just a quick little tip for anyone out there that if you are, finding yourself getting up there where, you need to take a minute, this is going to be one to just remember and keep in your memory bank, just to kind of bring yourself back down to that calm, centered place again. Over to you then, Kim. Do you want to start and talk us through what we've got to do, and I will follow along for anyone that's watching as well?
Sure. So I am combining two different things within this. So it's about expanding your mind and expanding your awareness, but also to release a negative emotion or an emotion that you're feeling inside of it. So if you are, or you could connect with, maybe you're not feeling a negative emotion right now, but your own anxiety or your own stress, something that has caused you to feel a certain way. And then I will help you to release that as we go through this. So we're just going to take 3 deep breaths. So we're just going to get started by, you can breathe in through your nose and breathe all the way to your belly, and then just let that go. And then while you're breathing in, maybe you just want to set an intention. So let's say you were just in your child screaming, and you take in a moment to get outside that. And maybe your intention is, I just want to feel calm. I just want to calm down. And so you are going to pick something that you can put your eyes on right now. So making sure that you keep your head level. So you're just going to raise your eyes up, not your chin and not your head. So pick something that your eyes can focus on across from you, wherever you are. And you're just going to imagine that your eyes are glued on to that spot. So maybe you see an X, like X marks the spot, and you're going to keep your eyes on that spot and breathe in and exhale out. And while you have your eyes on that focal point, pick a word. Calm is always a good one. So if you want to feel calmer, just imagine you can see that word calm that's written around that spot. And you can notice anything about it. Like, is it written in a certain font? Is it scripted? Is it block letters? Does it have a color? And just keeping your eyes on that spot. Now you're going to shift your attention peripherally. So your eyes stay focused on that spot forward, but you shift your attention to the left and the right. So you're just becoming aware of what's in your peripheral, and breathe. So your eyes are forward, your attention is now moving left and right as your awareness expands, and you're just starting to take in the peripheral, noticing all the way to the right and the left of you where you are now. And as you expand your awareness, maybe you even can tune in to the sounds in the space around you, even becoming aware of, if you had eyes behind you, what's behind you. that you could see and hear. And in this quieter, more expanded awareness, you can connect with one of those unhelpful emotions, maybe stress or guilt or frustration or anger, whatever it is. You're just going to detach from it and become curious about it. So your now expanded awareness puts an emotion there, and you just have the thought, I'm curious about this guilt, or I'm curious about this anger. And then you're just going to notice you're detached from it, just becoming curious about why it's there or what it's connected to. You might start to get some memories or some insights about where it came from or where it started. And just notice what's there. It's just about being an observer and curious. And then you can imagine a stop sign, or if you're into computers, maybe a delete button, a trash can, but really just want it to stop. So, or maybe a red button, hit the stop, and then just ask your unconscious mind and your superconscious mind to help you release it. So this emotion, this guilt, this anger, this frustration, unconscious mind, help me release this and all the stories, all the memories, all the events that are connected to it, all the way back to when it first started. That's all you have to do. And then just imagine it lifting. So maybe you could see it as a color or inside of a cloud, and just imagine it right now lifting up and away. Just imagine it dissipating and going further and further away. And then you can identify, how would you rather feel instead of that? I choose to feel relaxed. I choose to feel peaceful. I choose to feel calm. And then just let yourself be in that moment, and maybe tuning into the sounds around you, or you can even imagine your favorite place. Maybe imagine being by the water or inside of a beautiful garden, or just soaking in the sun, and feelings of calm and peace and serenity come to you, and you're just absorbing them. And you can just ground that in. Just imagine head to toe filling up with calm or peace or a color of quiet, head to toe. And then just imagining from there, maybe roots at the bottoms of your feet, going into the ground, that anchor, and just setting that in, anchoring that feeling in to your mind and your body right now. And then from there, you can just start to bring your awareness all the way back to the room where you are, and just become aware of your immediate surroundings. Just coming back into the here and now, and take a deep breath and then exhale. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Kim. That was really good. Thank you very much. I probably should have put a warning on this to not listen to this episode while you're driving or anything. I'll have to do that after.
Yeah, well, it would be, I know I was going to say that, but then I think it would be hard to keep your eyes on one spot. Maybe took a little bit longer. My clients do it inside of our sessions, and the more you do it, the quicker it gets. So I sometimes do it in less than 60 seconds, because once you know how to do it and you set the intention, your unconscious mind is already doing it for you. That's the beauty of the unconscious mind. It's like, it's faster than the speed of light. It already knows what you want before you just have to have the intention, and it will do it. It just feels nicer to take the moment to breathe. And I like to look at sunflowers in my mind, but then it lets you come back. You're disconnecting. So you come back to your child, and you can focus on you now. Like, you can have your moment to cry or be upset, and I don't have to get sucked into that. And then I can help you calm down.
Definitely. No, I really appreciate that, Kim, for showing us that. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit about, meditation and the benefits of hypnotherapy as well for children. I'm a big believer in it. I think it works really well. I really appreciate you coming on. And do you want to just let people know where they can come and find you for more information about hypnotherapy and NLP coaching, and where they can come and get you?
Absolutely. I would like to say, for a lot of the kids I work with, especially the little ones, even with autism, I do make a lot of hypnotic audio files for children. So it's really just like bedtime stories, but they can get into their own little world before bed. So it really helps kids sleep better, calm down, and let go of the anxiety before they fall asleep. They can get into a calmer state before, and then stay asleep longer. I have a free gift that I will give you the website for that. So anyone listening can access that hypnotic audio. It's for parents, not for kids, but I'll give you the information for that. And my website is www.entrancinginspirations.com. And on Facebook, I'm under Entrancing Inspirations.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Kim. And as Kim mentioned, all of the links I'll put in the show notes, and that free gift, if you want to go and grab that free gift, that will be put in the show notes as well, on how you can get that as well. Once again, Kim, really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your advice and information around hypnotherapy and NLP training as well. And that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all for the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Lucy. Thank you for having me. It was great to meet you and to be here.
And you, Kim, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all next week.